Okay, so today we're going to have some fun. We're going to harken back to 2001 and see what the NFL would look like today had Drew Bledsoe, the New England Patriots quarterback at the time, had never gotten injured. Would we even know who Tom Brady is? Would Bill Belichick become one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest of all time? And would the New England Patriots have had a dynasty that lasted nearly 2 decades? We're going to have some fun doing this. We're going to go back and put some pieces together and see what we can come up with and see what the NFL would look like today had Drew Bledsoe never gotten injured in that game against the New York Jets. Prior to the 2000 NFL season, Bill Belichick was hired to replace Bill Parcells as the New York Jets head coach. However, he resigned almost immediately and would later accept a job with the New England Patriots, who were 8-8 the previous season. Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback, and he had led the Patriots to a Super Bowl in 1996-1997, only to lose to Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers. Also in 2000, the New England Patriots drafted Michigan quarterback Tom Brady 199th overall in the 6th round of the NFL draft. Belichick's first season as the New England Patriots head coach was rather disappointing as they finished 5-11. Drew Bledsoe also underperformed, throwing 17 touchdown passes against 13 interceptions. However, he did throw for 3,291 yards, which he happened to throw for more than 3,000 yards every season, except for his rookie season in 1993 up to this point. Also, prior to the 2001 season, Drew Bledsoe signed a 10-year, $103 million contract. So at this point, it appeared that the Patriots were still confident in Bledsoe's ability moving forward. So the 2001 NFL season begins with the New England Patriots losing their opener to the Cincinnati Bengals, 23-17, while Drew Bledsoe failed to complete a pass in the final 2 minutes of the game. A week later, at home against the New York Jets, the NFL would see a play that possibly altered the next 2 decades of the sport. It was the fourth quarter of an unremarkable game in Week 2 when Bledsoe scrambled for a first down but was hit hard by the Jets linebacker Mo Lewis. Bledsoe was later diagnosed with a severe lung injury that would sideline him for several weeks. As you know, Tom Brady would fill in for the injured Bledsoe in the 10-3 loss to the New York Jets. Brady would pass 5 for 10 for 46 yards in the loss, but what happens after this nobody could have ever predicted. Brady would finish the season as the Patriots starter, as his decent and steady play led the New England Patriots to an 11-5 record in an AFC East crown. Even after Bledsoe was cleared to return, Belichick stuck with his steady hand in his young quarterback. While Bledsoe would see the field again in the AFC Championship game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, leading a scoring drive that pushed the Patriots to the Super Bowl, Patriots would stick with Brady when they got to the Super Bowl. It would be their first Super Bowl win of 6 in New England for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So thank you, Mo Lewis. So that's actually what happened in real life, but we're going to rewind time a little bit and pretend that did not happen. We're going to pretend Bledsoe just threw the ball away instead of trying to scramble, and Mo Lewis would never have hit him. So Bledsoe does not get injured in 2001, but he does struggle at the beginning of the season. However, with a hefty contract owed to him, Belichick would have likely stuck with him despite the fact that he was fascinated with his young quarterback Brady. And up until 1999, Bledsoe was a solid quarterback, especially in 1996 and in 1997. So benching him for a 6th-round pick seemed unlikely unless the wheels were falling off. With Bledsoe under center in 2001, the Patriots would not have had the consistency on offense that they had with Brady, and they would have likely lost 3 close games that they actually won, like Week 5 against the San Diego Chargers, in Week 12 against the New York Jets, and Week 14 against the Buffalo Bills. This would have dropped the Patriots' record from 11-5 to 8-8, causing them to miss the playoffs. The New York Jets would have won the AFC East with an 11-5 record, taking the number 2 seed that season. The Seattle Seahawks, who were actually in the AFC West at the time, would have inherited the 6th seed at 9-7. So Seattle would play the 3rd-seeded Oakland Raiders in the wildcard game, and they would lose. The Raiders would then travel to the Meadowlands to play the Jets, where there was no snow and where there would be no tuck rule controversy. I'm comfortable thinking that the Raiders, who I think should have beaten the Patriots, would have handled the Jets, considering they actually beat them 38-24 in real life in the wild card game. The Raiders would then go on to Pittsburgh to upend the Steelers, and Gruden gets the Raiders to the Super Bowl to face their former crosstown LA rivals, the St. Louis Rams. The Rams and Raiders Super Bowl will be a star-studded event that would feature Raiders quarterback Rich Gannon, who was a veteran but was playing really good at the time, as well as legendary receivers Jerry Rice and Tim Brown, also with defensive back Charles Woodson. They're facing off against the Rams, who were known as the greatest show on turf, whose offense featured the firepower of MVP quarterback Kurt Warner, MVP running back Marshall Faulk, as well as star receivers Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. I don't believe the Rams would have gotten off to the sluggish start offensively like they did against the Patriots, who were actually ranked 6th in defense in 2001 in reality, versus the 19th ranked defense of the Raiders. But the Raiders would also score. I feel like they would fall short, though, to the Rams 34-27. Rams would win their second Super Bowl in 3 years, trending towards a potential dynasty. And on the Raiders' end of things, they would not trade Gruden, their head coach, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They would hold on to him, and he would lead them to a second straight Super Bowl a year later. But we'll talk about that later also. Heading into the 2002 season, both Belichick and Bledsoe would be on short leashes within the Patriots organization after failing to make the playoffs 2 straight seasons together. The Patriots opened the season, though, by handily beating the Steelers and Jets. However, it's not likely that the Patriots, who were 8-8 in 2001 in this scenario, would open the season on Monday night against the Steelers, who were the best team in the AFC during the regular season in 2001. But since this is all I have to go by, we're going to stick with it. It's also unclear as to how the 2002 offseason would have shaped out, as the Patriots would have obviously attempted to improve upon a mediocre season, thus drafting differently and going after certain free agents. So, under Bledsoe in 2002, the Patriots still win their first 3 games, and it appears as if he's back to form and that the team's starting to click. However, the season begins to unravel when they lose their next 4 games. Feeling the heat, the Patriots decide to make the switch from Bledsoe to Brady during the bye week, following their 3rd straight loss, which was against the Green Bay Packers. Now, Brady does not have a full season under his belt like he did in reality, so he likely would have had his struggles, but based on his real first season in 2001, he would have been steady and consistent. I still believe the season would have ended out kind of how it did in reality at 9-7, with the Patriots missing the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season. Now, this is where things really get interesting in this scenario. Following 3 lackluster seasons with high expectations and no playoff appearances, the Patriots brass fire Belichick and promote offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss, so the dynasty as we know it never happens. Meanwhile, Gruden and the Raiders roll through the 2002 season to face the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Yes, the Eagles, not the Buccaneers, because the Eagles would not have to deal with a Gruden-led Buccaneers team. Now, this Buccaneers team, built by Tony Dungy, had some talented players, but without Dungy, who they had moved on from, or Gruden, I do not believe they could have knocked off Donovan McNabb and the Eagles in 2002. So the Raiders, they win the Super Bowl 27-16 over the Eagles, giving Gruden his first ring. So that didn't change. He just won it with the Raiders, not the Buccaneers. Moving on to 2003. The Patriots have now moved on from Belichick and are trying to rise from mediocrity. Belichick is coming off his 2nd failed head coaching tenure, first in Cleveland in the 90s and now New England. So where does he go from here? Shifting our attention real quick to Dallas, where Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys hire Bill Parcells as the head coach in 2003. Now, Parcells was a coach for the New York Giants in 1986 and 1990 when they won the Super Bowl. Bill Belichick was the defensive coordinator on those teams. Belichick also worked with Parcells in New England in 1996 and again in New York with the Jets from 1997 to 1999. So there's history there between the two. Parcells recruits the recently fired Belichick to join him in Big D, hiring him instead of Mike Zimmer as the defensive coordinator. Belichick, hoping to get a 3rd chance at a head coaching gig one day, accepts the defensive coordinator job, hoping to piggyback on the success the two had together in both New York and New England. Still high on Tom Brady, Belichick is doing his best to convince Parcells and company to take a swing and go after the young quarterback with an unsure future in New England following Belichick's exodus. After all, heading into the 2003 season, the Cowboys quarterback room included 2001 second-round draft pick Quincy Carter out of Georgia, who'd yet to impress as a starter, Chad Hutchinson, and undrafted rookie Tony Romo. With no true loyalty to anyone in the quarterback room at the time, Parcells finally is convinced, thus he convinces Jones, who reportedly was the one who wanted to draft Carter back in 2001, to ship the former second-round draft pick to New England for Tom Brady, who was a later-round pick in 2000, but performed silently and respectably while replacing Bledsoe in 2002. Speaking of Bledsoe, the Patriots completely move on from their previous quarterbacks. So like they do in real life, the Patriots would ship Bledsoe to Buffalo, but they would not get a first-round draft pick. Instead, they would get a fourth-round draft pick because Bledsoe's value has fallen since while as a starter in New England, he was up and down instead of a fresh backup to Tom Brady. So the Patriots' 2003 quarterback room consists of Quincy Carter, Rohan Davey, and veteran Damon Heward, with Quincy Carter getting the nod as the starter. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, Bledsoe has a pretty good tenure there. Unable to lead them deep into the playoffs, though, he does have a couple good seasons. He would end up retiring as a Buffalo Bill following the 2006 season. So Tom Brady is expected to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback for the 2003 season. However, there's a small detail we need to clear up here. Everybody knows Tom Brady is number 12. He became synonymous with the number 12 while playing in New England, TB12. However, there was already a 12 in Dallas. Roger Staubach was iconic in the 1970s for the Dallas Cowboys, leading them to 2 Super Bowl victories. Therefore, nobody used the number 12, even though Dallas doesn't formally retire their jersey numbers. Brady, who's not quite the Tom Brady we know yet, he's okay with that. He goes with jersey number 10 because he wore that in college while playing in Michigan. So, in this scenario, if Tom Brady were to become a legend in Big D, he'd be known as TB10, not TB12. The 2003 Dallas Cowboys ended the season at 10-6, finishing second in the division to the Philadelphia Eagles, only to lose to the Carolina Panthers in the wild card round. I still see the same result even with Tom Brady as the quarterback. While Brady is more consistent than Quincy Carter, he did have that learning curve of learning a new offense. In this scenario, the Carolina Panthers continue their path to the Super Bowl in Houston, as they did in reality land. However, though, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the Patriots are not in the way of the Indianapolis Colts, led by Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy, and the rest of the crew. Therefore, the Colts easily get to the Super Bowl, where they edge out the Carolina Panthers for their Super Bowl victory, maybe their first of many. So in our scenario, the 2004 Dallas Cowboys barely clinch a playoff spot, but the improvement in Tom Brady's game with the Cowboys is palpable. So instead of going 6-10, like the real Cowboys did, the 2004 Cowboys in our scenario end up at 9-7 and earn a 5th seed into the postseason, knocking out the Minnesota Vikings and dropping the St. Louis Rams to the 6th seed. In the regular season, though, the Cowboys would win at least one game against their division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, dropping Philly's record to 12-4 instead of 13-3. This is still good enough, though, for the Eagles to earn the top seed in the NFC. So, like the Rams did in real life, the Cowboys would go into Seattle and defeat the Seahawks on the road, but then fall a week later to the electric Michael Vick-led Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles, though, would defeat the Falcons to earn their trip to the Super Bowl. Now in the AFC, the New England Patriots, who were actually 14-2 in real life, would end up closer to the cellar in the AFC East. As we know, this is not the same Patriots team that we actually saw in reality. This allows the New York Jets to actually win the AFC East with a record of 11-5. The Drew Bledsoe-led Buffalo Bills would go 10-6 and end up as the 6th seed. The Colts, though, would move up to the 2nd seed and earn a bye week, where they would defeat the San Diego Chargers, who just a week earlier defeated these Bills in the wild card game. The Colts would travel to Pittsburgh, where they would throttle the Steelers, who were led by a rookie quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. This earns Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy their 2nd straight Super Bowl appearance, where they would edge out the Philadelphia Eagles, coached by Andy Reid and led by Donovan McNabb and receiver Terrell Owens. The 2005 season would be an absolute disaster for the New England Patriots, who would fire their coach Charlie Weis at mid-season. Meanwhile, the Cowboys had finished 10-6, but they would barely miss the playoffs after being swept by their division rivals, the Washington Redskins. Peyton Manning and the Colts would take a brief fall from grace and lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would eventually win the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. Following the debacle of the 2005 season for the New England Patriots, a very frustrated and impatient Bob Kraft is really pining for a big splash for the 2006 season. He sets his sights on Oakland Raiders head coach John Gruden. Now, the Raiders and Gruden have fallen from their early 2000s peak, where they appeared in 2 Super Bowls and won 1. Gruden does accept the lucrative job with New England, and his first mission is to find their quarterback. So in the draft, they select quarterback from USC, Matt Leinart, and eventually part ways with Quincy Carter. Now, this pairs Matt Leinart up with fellow USC quarterback teammate Matt Castle. Castle will begin the season as the backup. Rumors, though, begin to swirl about Bill Parcells retiring following the 2006 season for the Dallas Cowboys, which would pave the way for Bill Belichick to become the head coach of America's team. And the team received a potential offensive boost when they signed ultra-talented but sometimes controversial wide receiver Terrell Owens, adding him to the offensive fold. So we're now in 2006, where Tom Brady suffers an injury that forces him out of 3 games. Now, his injury is not major, but it's enough to where he has to sit out and rest for at least 3 games. The Cowboys turn to their undrafted backup Tony Romo, who plays extremely well in Brady's absence, leading the Cowboys to wins in all 3 games that he plays. Tony Romo was impressive, much more impressive than people expected, and his name is now starting to begin to circle around the NFL. However, his great play was not near enough to supplant Tom Brady at quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys end the season 11-5, winning the NFC East, and they earn a first-week bye. In the playoffs, Brady finally flexes his playoff clutch muscle as he leads the Dallas Cowboys to a fourth-quarter comeback win in the NFC Championship game in Chicago against Lovie Smith's Bears, who are a very tough defensive team. This allows the Cowboys to head to their first Super Bowl in well over a decade. For the first time, Tom Brady will lead the Dallas Cowboys to the Super Bowl to face Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts, who have already hoisted 2 Super Bowl trophies. Well, make it 3, because Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts edge out the Dallas Cowboys in what becomes an epic Super Bowl between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. This time, Peyton Manning gets the best of Tom Brady. John Gruden's first season as the Patriots head coach produced mixed results as they emerged from the cellar to post a 7-9 record. Rookie Matt Leinart struggled for the most part during his rookie campaign, even briefly losing his starting job to Matt Castle. As expected, Bill Parcells retires following the 2006 season as the Cowboys head coach, paving the way for Bill Belichick to take over. Tom Brady and Terrell Owens spend much of the offseason working out together, trying to fix some of the chemistry issues that plagued them throughout their first season together. Now, the Cowboys actually went 13-3 in 2007, but they're even better under Belichick and Brady in this scenario. Brady has a career season, breaking franchise single-season records left and right for the Cowboys. His chemistry with Terrell Owens is nearly perfect this season, and their working out together throughout the offseason clearly paid dividends. He also has his reliable go-to guy, tight end Jason Witten. Cowboys go 15-1, earning home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC. Belichick would rest Brady in the final 2 weeks of the season, starting Tony Romo, who continues to impress in his backup role. John Gruden is hell-bent on improving his Patriots throughout his second season, so he adds star receiver and battled Randy Moss, who went through his worst season of his career with the Oakland Raiders in 2006. Quarterback Matt Leinart improved a little bit throughout his second season, but he still struggled and was turnover-prone. For the first time in over a decade, though, the Patriots win the AFC East with a 9-7 record. The rest of the division was rather weak, so that did kind of help their cause. And while they made the postseason, they were ousted right away in the wildcard game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tom Brady and the Cowboys evade a valiant effort by Eli Manning and their division rival New York Giants in the NFC Championship game. The winner, which was the Cowboys, get to face the Colts for a second straight season. This time, though, Tom Brady gets the best of his rival Peyton Manning as the Brady-Belichick combo finally get their first Super Bowl ring together. This time, though, it's with the Cowboys, and it's in 2007-2008. In 2008, the Cowboys finished second to the Giants in the NFC East, but still make the playoffs. They defeat the Giants in the divisional round and then dispose of Kurt Warner and the Arizona Cardinals to win a third consecutive Super Bowl appearance. With the Colts' stunning loss in the wildcard game to the San Diego Chargers in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers are now the foes to Brady and Belichick's Cowboys. In a back-and-forth battle in the fourth quarter, with both Brady and Big Ben Roethlisberger trading touchdowns, the game would be decided by whoever had the ball last, and of course, that would be the Cowboys. Brady would lead the Cowboys into field goal range late in the game as Nick Folk kicks the game winner with 3 seconds remaining. This makes it 2 in a row for Brady and Belichick and the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Under John Gruden, the 2008 New England Patriots would have their best regular season of the decade at 11-5, but they would miss the playoffs, as they did in reality, because the 11-5 Miami Dolphins would earn the tiebreaker and win the AFC East division. Heading into 2009, Terrell Owens ends up staying with the Dallas Cowboys for 2009 and beyond. Obviously, his relationship with the Cowboys in this particular scenario is much better than it actually was in reality at this time. Meanwhile, John Gruden has fallen out of love with his inconsistent quarterback Matt Leinart and in love with Tom Brady's backup, Tony Romo, who had been very impressive in his limited starts. Matt Castle took over the starting role from Leinart in 2008 and was okay, but it was not enough to convince John Gruden that he's the long-term answer. So, the Patriots decided to trade a later round draft pick for Tony Romo to compete with Matt Castle for the starting job in 2009. Following their Super Bowl victory in 2008, the Cowboys go through a little bit of a Super Bowl drought. They continue to win and are perennial contenders, but they don't make the Super Bowl for quite a few more years. The next 3 seasons we saw the unstoppable playoff forces of the New Orleans Saints in 2009, the Green Bay Packers in 2010, and the New York Giants in 2011. That kept the Cowboys from contending for a Super Bowl championship in those respective seasons. Meanwhile, John Gruden has built a solid foundation in New England, and they become perennial players in the AFC. In fact, Romo, who earned the job from Castle in 2009, leads the Patriots to the Super Bowl in 2011, only to lose to Eli Manning and the New York Giants, as they did in real life with Brady and Belichick. Over the years, Tom Brady and the Dallas Cowboys continue to put up big numbers. They continue to win. They're perennial contenders in their division and in the conference. However, they go through that Super Bowl drought. In fact, after beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2008 season, it took them 7 years to get back to the Super Bowl. They had to go to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2015 to defeat Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers, who were 15-1 in the regular season. They defeated the Panthers to earn a trip to face the Denver Broncos and guess who? Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, often injured this season, limped through his final season. In the Super Bowl, though, Von Miller and the Broncos defense tortured Brady and the Cowboys just like they did to Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers in real life. So in this scenario, Peyton Manning gets the best of Tom Brady one last time as he rides into the sunset of retirement. So let's go back to the New England Patriots for a moment here. John Gruden has built something pretty special in New England. I mentioned back in 2011, with Tony Romo blossoming as a solid quarterback, the Patriots were able to get to the Super Bowl, only to lose to Eli Manning and the New York Giants. 3 years later, however, they returned to the Super Bowl to beat Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, who were the defending champions. This would be Gruden's second Super Bowl victory, and it would occur 12 years after his first one, when he won with the Oakland Raiders back in 2002. 2 years later, in 2016, we would see a clash of two worlds, as Brady and Belichick's Cowboys would face off against Gruden and Romo's Patriots. While it was a good matchup, it was that trio of Tom Brady, Dez Bryant, and Ezekiel Elliott was just too tough for the Patriots defense to overcome. So the Cowboys will win another Super Bowl. It will be their third under Brady and Belichick, but their first in 8 seasons. The 2017 season was a difficult one for Patriots quarterback Tony Romo, who suffered a series of injuries, forcing him to retire following the season. Fortunately, though, John Gruden selected Dak Prescott in the 4th round of the 2016 draft. Prescott would become the starter for the New England Patriots in 2018 and for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, though, the injuries to Romo kept the Patriots from a Super Bowl appearance in 2017. Now in Dallas, though, Brady and Belichick are beginning to clash. Things are beginning to happen over there in Dallas. Brady still wants to play. Belichick wants to move on. There was a playoff meltdown against Philadelphia that cost the Cowboys a Super Bowl appearance in 2017. In 2018, they still clash. Brady wants to keep playing until he falls apart or kills over, whichever comes first, and Belichick is ready to move on. Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, is much more fond of Tom Brady than he ever was Bill Belichick, who he clashed with over the years. So, Belichick leaves Dallas following the 2018 season. He takes over the Cleveland Browns head coaching job in 2019, where he's paired with Baker Mayfield and company. Now, Mayfield was the first overall pick in 2018 for the Browns. Also, the Browns are where Belichick got his first head coaching job, where he failed and was fired for the first time as a head coach. Belichick's understudy Josh McDaniels inherits the uber-talented Dallas Cowboys team in 2019. So we're in 2020 now. It's Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels' second season together as head coach and quarterback without Bill Belichick. In this scenario, they make the Super Bowl, their first in 4 years. They face the Kansas City Chiefs, led by quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who's been the most electrifying and maybe best player in the league since 2018 when he became the starter for the Chiefs. Now, in this scenario, Mahomes and the Chiefs are coming off 2 consecutive Super Bowl victories against the Rams and the 49ers. Now, in reality, Mahomes and the Chiefs lost to the Patriots, led by Belichick and Brady in 2018. However, they didn't exist, so the Chiefs actually got to the Super Bowl and beat the Rams in 2018 and repeated again in 2019 against the 49ers, and they're going for the three-peat against the Cowboys. However, Tom Brady and the Dallas Cowboys and Josh McDaniels, they're just too tough this season. They've added Antonio Brown to the mix, along with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, who's a rookie, as well as Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard and the rest of the Cowboys' offensive weapons. They also have enough defense to knock off and hold off the Chiefs. So, here we are, the Brady-led Cowboys. They get their 4th Super Bowl, their first without Belichick, but it's the 4th in Dallas. This puts Brady in the same category in GOAT conversation as Peyton Manning and Joe Montana. Now, remember in this scenario, Peyton Manning has 4 Super Bowls instead of 2. Okay, so that was fun, going back a little bit to see, kind of recreate history there. If you agree with me, please let me know in the comments section. If you disagree, also let me know. Tell me where I went wrong or what I could have said differently that would have made more sense. But it was fun anyway to do this. If you liked the video and if you want to see more, you know what to do.